When we talk about warrior mindset, a lot of people will immediately think about virtues like justice, courage. But I would argue that one of the most important things when it comes to being a warrior is actually sacrifice. And this is what we will be talking about in this video. Hey guys, welcome to the High Ground. My name is Fabio, and today we again have a video that is more geared towards the philosophical side. I want to talk to you about the concept of sacrifice. Maybe before we begin, we should actually define the word sacrifice because I think it's often misused in our current society. So, sacrifice is giving up something of value for something else that is deemed to be more important. It's not giving up something that you don't value at all. It's not difficult for a billionaire to donate 1 million to a good cause. That's not a real sacrifice. It's like me giving a chewing gum to a homeless person. So that really doesn't hurt myself. But if you give up something of value, that is a real sacrifice. In this video, I will be talking about sacrifice in the context of our Western culture. We have, even though some people don't like it, we have a Judeo-Christian culture that is, of course, influenced by anything that was going on before actual Christianity came here. So a lot of Latin influences there. But we have a Judeo Christian culture. And I think to really understand warrior ethics from our perspective from the Western world, we also have to include a view on sacrifice in Christian culture. Now, I know that this is a steep claim, but if we really look at what we value, at the people we deem to be heroes, of course, we think that this is a value, that it is good, that it is good to be strong, right? To be a winner. That's all good. But the people who get a Medal of Honor are the ones who are willing to sacrifice their life for their comrades or for their unit, for their friends. So I think that it is not an overstatement that sacrifice really has a special place in our culture. This goes in line with the very center of our Christian belief that ultimately the sacrifice of Jesus on the cross has redeemed the world. His sacrifice has reconciled humanity with God. And I think this 2000-year-old act that was done by Jesus um, is really fundamental to what we consider in our culture to be warrior ethics, warrior culture. Um, if you look at other cultures, and I don't want to bash anybody here, but oftentimes it is more valued to be strong than to be actually good. And I feel that in our culture, yes, as said, we want to have winners, but we don't want to win by any means. If the Nazis had won World War II, they wouldn't be better because of it, um, just because they won, right? They would still be bad people. And the greatest generation, the Americans who freed Europe and ultimately the world from Nazis, they are not only the greatest generation because they won, because, I mean, America actually won a lot of wars yet, but they are the greatest generation because of their sacrifice to all mankind. Now, after we looked at the concept of sacrifice and tied it into our Western culture, Let's make the connection to the actual warrior mindset that is based on sacrificial love. So, not everybody who is able to fight, who is going to combat even, is a warrior. I would, for example, I wouldn't doubt that a Taliban fighter who hides behind children and women, oh yeah, he's engaged in warfare. Of course he is, right? He is shooting at people. But I would never call him a warrior. He's a coward. And I think that is one of the most important things that we know about warriors, that they have a certain sacrificial love. Ultimately, warriors are willing to sacrifice their life for a greater cause than themselves. And that's the next very important thing. It has to be a greater cause. Of course, we all know the very famous footage of the bank robbers who were wearing full body armor and fighting, I don't know how many dozens of cops with their AKs. I mean, yeah, they fought quite a lot of people, but they were doing that for cash, for themselves. So there is no real virtue in doing that. I think it is very important that we are strict with our definition in that regard. And I know that this is all a little bit fluent, and different people might take different names for warriors. But in the end, a warrior should be willing to sacrifice, not for himself, but to protect others. Now, another great virtue that we see in warriors is courage. And if we look at courage, sacrificing really needs a lot of courage to actually do that. So, if we think about it, if you know that nothing will happen to you, then there is no sacrifice and there is also no courage needed. Superman is actually not very brave. Maybe unless for a few times he fought against um, thugs who had kryptonite bullets, right? But so if you can't lose anything, then you don't need to have courage. On the other side, if you already know that you will lose something that is of great value for you, so if you sacrifice something, that is the thing that needs the most courage, because there is no uncertainty about the outcome. And we will maybe get to some examples of that a little bit later. But if we really have this spectrum between where you have courage in any action and where is no courage, then I think it is pretty clear that courage has to do with sacrifice and is very immediately connected to sacrifice. And thirdly, what we appreciate on a warrior is his character. And there are few things that shape a character as sacrifice does. Sacrifice is a way to develop self discipline, to develop humility, and ultimately a sense of purpose. And that's what a lot of people are missing in today's world. Now, if we look at examples of sacrifice, of warriors who sacrificed, then we find a whole line back from before Christian times up to today. If we look at the big people in the Bible, um, may it be Abraham, who was willing to sacrifice his son, also Abraham's son Isaac, who was willing to sacrifice himself, willing to be sacrificed. There is a very interesting conversation to have about that, because if you look at the timeline of the Bible, Isaac was actually quite old. He was I think in his late 20s, beginning 30s. So it was not like Abraham sacrificed a little child or was willing to sacrifice a little child, but Isaac was a grown man who was willing to carry the wood for his own sacrifice up the mountain. That's the actual extraordinary part in that story. I hope I got all the details right, but yeah, look it up. Um, if we look at Moses, who was willing to leave the Pharaoh's court and lead the Israelites out of Egypt. Um, if we look at King David, who was very humble but was a great warrior and afterwards a great king who wrote many of the Psalms. And the line goes on and on, leading up to modern day warriors, like, for example, Medal of Honor recipient Mike Monsoor, who was jumping on a grenade for his comrades on a rooftop. So he was sacrificing, he was giving the ultimate sacrifice, sacrificing himself for his friends. Also, other people who might not have been in military service and didn't receive a Medal of Honor, but firefighters who tragically sacrificed their life, policemen who were shot in their line of duty. Um, I think there is a lot of long lineage of sacrifice going back through the ages that actually led us to the place where we are today. And and maybe this is really the point why I wanted to make this video. Regardless if you believe in the Christian God, if you believe in any God, um, sacrifices are worshiping God. But if you don't believe in God, then you can still be sure that they will make the world a better place. And that is something that any one of us should strive after. And ultimately, this is also the mission a warrior should have. As said, this was a little bit a more philosophic video. I thought it was an interesting thought and I wanted to talk to you about that. And yeah, I do videos that are more like this, that have maybe a tactical aspect, a warrior mindset, or a philosophical aspect, generally on Thursdays. Mondays are Mountain Mondays, Outdoor Mondays, where I post outdoor videos. I hope you liked this video. If you found it interesting, please give me a thumbs up. Remember to follow the channel, click the notification bell so that you actually get notified whenever I post a new video. I appreciate your time watching this video. Thank you very much for that. And yeah, I'll see you next time.